welcome back to Aviation Explainer today. Today we'll be discussing the iconic Concorde. Now, a lot of people may go, ooh, the Concorde, but I'm also then going to do another video tomorrow, which will be about the boom supersonic. Now, for those who don't know, I'll explain that in tomorrow's video. I would also like to say a massive thank you, as I said the other day that once I hit 100 subscribers, I'm going to do a massive announcement. Well, we're currently sitting at 97 subscribers, so we're doing really well on that. But yeah, I'll get started. I won't bore you with this boring intro. So, the Concorde was a joint initiative between the British Aeronautical Company and I think it was the French or the European Aeronautical Company. Now, the Concorde, despite its technological marvel, was not profitable for several reasons. These are the issues and why they contributed to why other airlines didn't purchase it in large numbers. Here's a more in-depth look. So, higher operating costs. One of the main reasons why the Concorde wasn't profitable was its extremely high operating costs. The aircraft was designed for supersonic speed that required a lot of fuel, making it far more expensive to operate than conventional subsonic jets. The Concorde burned through large amounts of fuel at high speeds, about 25,000 litres or 6.6 thousand gallons per hour, which significantly increased its operating costs per flight. Fuel consumption. The Concorde's engines use much more fuel than modern airliners like the 747. For comparison, the Concorde consumed about 5 times more fuel than per passenger than the typical subsonic jet, which made ticket prices extremely high for the aircraft and unattractive for mass market use. Maintenance. The Concorde was used and also required extensive and expensive maintenance. The aircraft engines, the need to keep the body structure in top shape due to stress of supersonic travel, and specialized maintenance for things like higher temperature fuselage, which led to withstand heat generated by breaking the sound barrier, added to the upkeep costs. Crew requirements. The Concorde needed a higher number of specialized crew members, including pilots, engineers, and maintenance personnel compared to the regular commercial airliner. This increased the cost per flight. 2. Limited passenger capacity. The Concorde could carry a maximum of around 100 passengers, which is relatively small compared to the large capacity jets that were popular in the 1970s and 80s. The Boeing 747 could hold up to 400 passengers. The smaller capacity meant airlines couldn't make it up for the higher operating costs, with the number of passengers on board. 2. Expensive ticket prices. To make up for the smaller capacity and higher operating costs, ticket prices for the Concorde were exorbitant. A round-trip fare from New York to London could cost up to $8,000 to $12,000 in 2000 money, making it only accessible to the super wealthy or corporations willing to spend for the prestige. This limited its market and a very niche group of people, while most of people preferred cheaper subsonic flights. Limited routes. The Concorde could only be used on relatively short, long-haul routes, for example, transatlantic routes from London to New York. It was suited for routes that were short, as supersonic travel required long stretch of uninterrupted airspace to break the sound barrier, and not every destination could accommodate the Concorde's operational needs. Airport infrastructure. The Concorde required specialized infrastructure, including longer runways and facilities that could handle its supersonic nature. While London Heathrow and New York's JFK were adapted for it, many airports didn't have the space or equipment to accommodate the plane. This limited the routes on which it could operate. Environmental and noise concerns. The sonic boom produced by the Concorde when it broke the sound barrier significantly disturbance on the ground, was particularly problematic in populated areas and led to many countries and regions, including the US, imposing restrictions on subsonic flights over land. Noise regulations. The Concorde was limited to flying supersonically over ocean, which restricted its ability to be used on shorter routes, more direct routes. This also meant that airlines could only use the Concorde for short routes between cities, where faster travel times would have been advantageous. Environmental impact. The aircraft consumed a lot of fuel, making it environmentally unfriendly compared to modern and more fuel-efficient airliners. The growing environmental movement in the late 20th century made Concorde's high emissions and environmental footprint less acceptable to the public and airlines. 5. High development costs and limited orders. The Concorde was a joint project between the British and French governments, which led to the heavy development costs. The initial development was financed largely by the governments of Britain and France, but the aircraft was still expensive to build and maintain. Limited customer base. Due to its high cost and limited practicality, only 2 airlines, British Airways and Air France, operated the Concorde. There were early attempts to sell it to other airlines, but the steep price tag and operational issues made it unappealing to a wider market. Manufacturing costs. The Concorde was complex, high-performance aircraft, and it had to be handcrafted to a degree that increased costs. Even as production numbers remained low, the cost per unit remained high, while making it difficult to justify for many airlines. A changing market and the rise of jet travel. By the 1980s and the 1990s, the market for air travel had shifted. There was a growing demand for affordable wide-body jets that could carry large numbers of passengers over distances at reasonable prices. The Concorde, despite its unique allure, was targeted on a small niche market. It was designed at the time for the emphasis was on luxury and speed, but at the time it was in operation, the market had shifted towards more cost-effective options like the Boeing 747 and the Airbus A380. Competition from modern jets. With the rise of cheaper, faster, and larger commercial airliners such as the Boeing 747, the Concorde's ultra-high ticket prices and limited capacity made it less competitive. Airlines could fly more passengers for lower prices on subsonic flights while competing on the same routes in a reasonable amount of time. 7. The political and economical factors. The Concorde's sales were influenced by the political considerations both by the British and French governments, were deeply invested in the project and saw it as a symbol of national pride and technology. However, many airlines were reluctant to buy the aircraft because the risks involved with its limited market appeal, high costs of operating, and the growing environmental concerns. Moreover, the Concorde became increasingly less relevant where the world of air travel became democratized rather than reserving the rich and famous. Economy factors such as oil crisis of the 1970s and the changing market conditions also made it harder to justify its continued production and operation. In summary, while the Concorde was an engineering marvel, its high operating costs and limited passenger capacity and environmental concerns and niche appeal all combined to make it financially unfeasible for a wider adoption. Its appeal to the smaller number of flying passengers did not offset the cost of operating such an exclusive service, and as the aviation market evolved, so did the need for supersonic travel. This, along with the development of more fuel-efficient and versatile aircraft, meant that other airlines were not interested in investing in the Concorde, and the aircraft ultimately became a symbol of aviation's past rather than its future. Thank you all for listening today. I know this is a fairly long video, and please stay tuned for tomorrow's episode about Boom Supersonic. Thank you.